Hi, everyone. My name is Alayna Jacoway. Today, I am going to talk about augmented reality, which is pretty much what I studied for the entirety of the semester. Oh, use my mouse here. Okay. All right. I specifically looked at augmented reality through the lens of residential architecture. Before we get to that, just to explain kind of my project goal as a whole. In the beginning, I wanted to start by studying the history and the progress of AR, from where it started to where we are today. Next, define, learn, and explore an existing AR software that's being used. And then third, create a client story to demonstrate my study using my own personal space at home. So the beginning of AR, when we think of AR, VR, the mixed reality type of softwares, you think super futuristic stuff, you think new world, new development, high technology, but honestly, it hasn't been around that long, or just not as long as we would expect. So I would say that it's progressed pretty quickly. It wasn't about until the mid 1900s to where people could kind of really, you know, get a real idea of what AR was, and it was really being talked about, being used. So it first started showing up in books and movies, being talked about in a lot of books. Um, you can see on the left in the film called Stranger Days. This was in about 1995. This is one of the later examples, but I haven't seen the movie myself. But from what I've gathered, it was mostly being kind of alluded to. I couldn't necessarily say that the AR software was actually being used in this movie. But it was definitely being talked about and definitely, got a lot of thought provoking content for people that had watched the movie. And then on the right, military forces began to kind of use AR in their fighter pilot jets. When AR took physical form was through Ivan Sutherland. He's kind of the main name in the beginning of AR. He created what was called the Sword of Damocles in about 1968. So Ivan was a Harvard professor and a computer scientist. So pretty much he created the first actual world, you could say, using graphics where users were interactive with the technology, which for the first time could, enhance their perception of their environment, which is basically what AR is. We're a more updated, example of AR. Where is it used today? This was a study by Alec Pestov. I read about this study in one of my readings. He is a member of the AEC industry, which is architecture, engineering, and construction. So this case brings light to a problem that a lot of people that work in this field experience. It's basically just an idea where, or a system where you can use AR to see the existing pipes underground. I think otherwise, without the use of this technology, you spend a lot of money, you spend a lot of time trying to figure out where problems that might be occurring, where you can find them underground. Obviously, you have to dig something up to be able to see what's going on underground. It just leads to a lot of excavation damages. It's not as safe. So using a tool like AR could, obviously you can see in the image, kind of save a lot of time, a lot of money, and honestly increase the efficiency of the practice. So this is a more of a real world example where we can use the tool to kind of benefit our daily practices. So to study why AR in residential architecture. In general, AR seamlessly blends digital elements with the physical world, elevating our interactions with our surroundings. Obviously, there's a lot of different ways that AR has been brought to our attention. There's a lot of different ways that it can benefit your daily practices, but I kind of studied on a client to architect basis what could AR, help overall in the design process, which is something that will affect me and probably a lot of you and your peers. So first, it allows changes in real time, saving time and money during proposal phase of a project. So this is a more specific example, but for example, if you and a client yourself are using the mixed reality software and you can both see what's going on in the interface, and the client says maybe she changes her mind on a paint color. So the architect or whoever is kind of orchestrating the software is able to change a paint color, change a style, change a pattern, change the aesthetic, change the look of something on your daily software like Rhino, which I know a lot of us in architecture school use. And that change, while made on the computer, it updates in the augmented reality software in real time. It also enhances communication between the client and an architect, leading to less error. For example, again, if a client and you are looking at something in the interface, and client says, "Oh, I want to see this, object that you have modeled over here," but she sees it in her actual existing physical space. Rather than having a clear discussion about which wall, both parties can visibly see and move an object to a different location in the software. This is definitely a faster form of making changes between both parties than sending drawings back and forth. So it just really displays how, as fine as, our practices are now, using AR can just elevate pretty much everything that we do in our design phase. Overall, creates an immersive experience for clients and architects in the home renovation industry, which benefits and optimizes the experience for all parties involved. So, who is doing what right now in the AR industry? So, after exploring a couple different softwares, I think I looked at Adobe Aero. Maybe I looked at one more, but pretty much when I found Foligram, this is what I kind of hit the ground running with. Foligram was founded in 2017. Again, it's pretty fairly recent. So right now it's connected to Rhino and Grasshopper. You can see the list here of available mobile devices that you can download Foligram on. I personally downloaded it on through the App Store on my iPad. After I did kind of my first round of testing and stuff, I kind of switched to the app on my phone. But either way, they were both, available to pretty much anybody. So example of the benefits and efficiency that you can get out of AR. So this was a study and done by Foligram themselves. It was an experiment done where bricklayers were able to use the program to help build a complex brick structure. So the picture on the left, as you can see, it says outside. What I mean by that is if you are standing, this is your outside view of someone using the software Foligram. So they chose the version of that's probably the HoloLens, I'm assuming, but just the headset version of Foligram. This is what you would see from the outside. But on the inside, what they would see is kind of the software that has been set up for them and uploaded into the Foligram software. So this capture on the right is what the bricklayer himself would see when laying bricks. So the video was really cool. It was an example that Foligram has on their website. The link is included in this PDF, but pretty much he can even see his hand placing a brick down on top of like the line work that you see in the right picture, which I mean, that's if that doesn't perfect your craft, I don't know what will. But again, this just kind of maximizes what you're able to do in design work or in real life building. An example video. I'm going to go ahead and play this.
In the university. So we heard from the team at UTAS that they wanted to put the brickies to the test on this complex fabrication project. So we went down to see what they'd been up to.
There isn't a single brick on there that lines up to anything. Every brick is different. This would take you like 2 weeks.
Yeah.
One guy, and a lot of that would have to be made up. You know what I mean? You're not going to get it exactly like this would be.
UTAS provided a design model, and Colin used Foligram to turn that into a holographic instruction set. This lets Colin see the outline and precise placement of every single brick in the wall. Aside from using Foligram as an instruction set, Colin was also able to use it to train his apprentices.
So that's all the bricks, right? Yep. So see how you are here. That one's good.
So that's just a little clip of the work that people over at Foligram are doing, but I just thought it was really cool. It was a great example of how we can maximize our efficiency in what we do in design projects using AR. If you heard the guy in the video, he said this would normally take about 2 weeks, and most of it would have to be made up by whoever's physically building the design. And with AR, you can take something super complex and be able to create it in much easier, faster than you normally would be able to. So now I kind of created like the client story to demonstrate how someone like me, an architect who plans to work in residential architecture, would use AR in a real life situation. So this character, she says, "Hi, I'm Rachel. I'd like to add a fireplace in my living room. I'm not sure what I want it to look like though." "Hi, Rachel. I'm Alayna, an architect. Let's test out some designs using Hologram." She says, "Great, I'll send over a photo of the existing wall." So this is my personal space, but this is the example existing wall that I chose to use because this is going to be an example of a home renovation project and how we could use AR in doing so. So first, I drew up the existing floor plans. This is what you would do in a general scenario of a home renovation project. Using Hologram specifically, you want to make sure you're at a one-to-one scale because it does become pretty important when lining things up in the interface. So next, I went ahead and modeled her physical space. Again, Hologram is linked to Rhino right now. I'm sure in the future they will advance to use some different projects, but if you can model the existing space in Rhino, it will show up in Hologram, as you'll see in a second. So now, like you would in a real life design renovation project, you would model some different proposals. So let's say one would be painted and the other would be wood, and you want to make sure to put these on separate layers in Rhino. This was, again, just some of the nicks and knacks that I came across and learned and test trialed through doing a bunch of different practices using Hologram, just best practice kind of things in order for it to work. So she says, "Rachel, it's time to download Hologram on your phone and connect it to my Rhino." So this is what it would look like. What you see now is what the client would see on their phone when opening the app Hologram. So you can just see whatever you're looking at is what's going to come up on the screen. There's the Hologram plugin, and it comes up with a QR code and just connect. It connects within a couple seconds. It's very quick. In the next video, we'll watch as Rachel aligns and locks the modeled existing wall to her real life wall. We'll see as she explores both option 1 and 2 by turning layers on and off. And we'll see as she walks around to view the options with its surrounding context. Okay, so right now, the first thing you would kind of do using Hologram is to try and create what's I consider as like an anchor point for the design that you created in Rhino. So this is why it's kind of important to create something in Rhino that is the same exact measurements as, an existing structure. And I chose to do that with the existing wall because at the end of the day, that wouldn't move. It wouldn't be a changing factor. You can use the gumball tool in Hologram to rotate and pretty much align something. So that was the best that it was going to get. I will say that was the hardest part. But as you can see on the phone now, if you tap that button, you're able to scroll through all the layers that are automatically uploaded from your Rhino. So here, the client is looking at option 1 because she turned on the option 1 layer in Rhino. And as you can see, since we created that anchor point and locked it in, whoever would be using, the client will be using the Hologram on her phone. She's able to look through her phone and see the option without moving as she moves around. So obviously you can see it's kind of popping over some of your existing or like real life furniture. I think maybe that would be fixed in the future. Honestly, that's just a user error type of thing. But either way, you get the idea of how, this could be very helpful in a real life situation. So next, through the layers, you're able to see you can switch to layer 2. Now, I did have originally a lot of other, you know, existing walls and furniture and appliances and stuff modeled, but really it just wasn't necessary when it came down to testing. But see, again, she's able to walk around. You're able to walk around your physical space and see something that, you want to create or change in your space, which is much different from what we've been able to do in home renovation before. Again, just switching on and off those layers. So yeah, this is a quote that was from that follogram example video.